Hello, welcome to the College Football Show. I'm Nick Roby.
And I'm Barrett Black.
Thanks for tuning in again, guys. Fun slate of games this week, a lot to talk about. Barrett, what really caught your eye this week?
I think there were a lot of things that caught my eye for the good and for the bad. I think the thing that sticks out the most in my head is the beatdown that Wisconsin put on Michigan. Like, that game was a big surprise. Everybody knew Wisconsin could run the ball. That's what they do. I don't think people expected it to get out of hand like it did. The game really got out of hand pretty quickly, and by halftime, Michigan was a beatdown.
Yeah, I was both impressed and unimpressed at the same time in a game. And the funny part was I was going to the Clemson game, and we were turning on the tailgate, trying to turn on the game, and we look at the score, it's 35-0.
Yeah.
And halftime, or early and still in the game, and it was just like, what's going on? I mean, I had picked Wisconsin to win, but not like that.
No, not like that.
No.
I think that most of the experts probably didn't expect such a large margin of victory either.
Yeah. So that one was a big one for me. There's just a lot of offense, I felt like, this week. And, I mean, granted, some teams are playing different levels of opponents than others, that's for sure. But, you even got guys like Joe Burrow with LSU throwing 6 TDs. I mean, that was, 66-38 in the SEC, something like that?
Yeah, that was a very high-scoring game.
That's like, you could almost argue it's a basketball score.
Yeah, that's almost like a Pac-12 score,
Yeah.
Speaking of the Pac-12, and impressed and not impressed, we know there's not a ton of defense out there.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I was super impressed with is the fact that UCLA did not give up being down 30-something points. I think 32 points, 49-17 was the score in the third quarter with like 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. So late in the third quarter, and you're down 32 points. And they came back and won the game. I mean, that's not giving up right there. That's really, in baseball, when you just dig it out to first base, even though you hit a pop-up with the hope that the fielder just drops it, that's what they did. And Wazoo really dropped it. That was, man, where was the defense?
That was an egg. I mean, it's still, the offense was awesome. I mean, it was a score of really a reasonable basketball game.
Yeah, exactly.
But the fact that UCLA came back that much, and they hadn't won a game yet. They would have been 0-4.
Wow, yeah.
And on the road.
Yeah.
It was impressive. I really liked them. Let's see, another team I was really impressed with, repping the ACC, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Coming behind and pulling off the upset.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of like one of those games where, okay, like, they're sticking around.
Yeah.
Okay, UCF looks like they're getting control. And then Pittsburgh does it.
Yeah, I only got to see the last play on a replay, but talking about crushing the dreams of some people, I feel like poor UCF fans saw their dreams go up in flames on that one play at the end of the game.
No national championship parade for them this year.
No, definitely not. For me, I was really impressed with Missouri. Missouri really made South Carolina look irrelevant. Not that South Carolina necessarily is relevant, but Missouri made them look really bad, especially freshman quarterback Ron Helinski, first start on a road SEC game, and he had a pretty terrible game. I think 13 for 30.
Yeah.
Compared to what he had done against Alabama at home the week before, I was pretty surprised at how bad he was. But I think Missouri is a legit contender in the East and might give Georgia and Florida all they want.
Yeah. No, they're legit. I mean, even just imagining, they're not even playing for postseason right now.
No, yeah.
They can play.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I know. Shout out to the Roar. When listening this past week, William Quackenbush was talking at the Clemson radio station, was just saying, hey, watch out when you're looking at games. Watch out for freshman quarterbacks, true freshman quarterbacks on the road in their first start.
Yeah.
Historically, they haven't been very good, and it's kind of shown. Even in our past 2 games, you've got Helinski with South Carolina, and you got Gabriel with UCF. Both of them struggled a bit on the road, so it kind of proves to form. All right, I want to just take a moment to talk to some Power 5 teams that you're trying to have a good schedule. You're trying to have one like maybe tough non-conference game and some other ones to kind of boost your record. Have some extra wins, especially if you're trying to make the playoff. Okay, so we need to have a talk. There are so far 2 teams you probably shouldn't schedule in the non-conference, just because they're not as easy of a win as you think they are, and that is Army, because they play the option, and App State.
Yeah,
App State's good. Okay, they're
yeah.
not just going to roll over it. Yes, were they in the FCS 3 years ago? Yes.
Yeah.
Did they win like 4 national titles in the FCS in like 5 years? Yes. And they beat Michigan not too long ago too. And now they got another one. They got UNC. Now, granted, it's not the same thing, but you could legitimately argue that they are the best team in the state of North Carolina. Right now.
Exactly.
And not even like being facetious about it.
Yeah,
they can play.
They can play. They could. I watched several drives of that game, and they honestly made it look pretty easy to move it down the field against North Carolina the whole game. They were just whipping it around pretty quickly. Now, not to say that their defense is anything to write home about, but they scored enough to win the game. So that's what's important.
Yeah, they can play. And then also with that, I still don't know anything about North Carolina.
Yeah.
They're 2-2, and I have no idea what kind of team they're in. Clemson's playing there next week.
Yeah.
I think it'll be okay, but it's a weird team where you're like, I have no idea what's going to show up.
It's one of the things that I wrote that I'll be looking forward to this week is to see Clemson's first road ACC game of the year and see if North Carolina can really play with a top dog. I mean, they've got a great coach now. They won 2 games at the beginning of the season, which was their total of wins last year. So let's see if they can do anything against Clemson. Obviously, don't expect them to win by any means, but can they at least put up some points and maybe make it respectable?
Yeah, it should be a good game. Let's see. Also, just a little shout out to Tulane on Thursday night. I know we're a little behind on that, but they came back with a crazy play.
Annexation of Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
and
then
straight out of Little Giants.
And then throw the bomb just to walk off the touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah.
So shout out to Tulane. That was pretty fun.
Auburn tried to run that same play on Saturday, and Tulane did it way better. I mean, to me, I was like, Auburn, how are you going to copycat that play literally 2 days after it was just run, and it was nationally televised? Do you not think if you line up in a victory formation on your own 4-yard line that they're going to expect something like that? Of course they are. It was right before halftime. They tried to run the play. It was stupid.
There you go.
Maybe that's the Bama and me talking.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other individual performances that you were just impressed with or want us to give a little shout out to from this past week?
No, not necessarily individual performances. Yeah, I'm good with the individual performances.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, it was just, I was going to point out some crazy stats just from the UCLA, Washington State. Dorian Thompson-Robinson led him back with UCLA, 507 yards, 5 touchdowns. And then Anthony Gordon, the quarterback from Washington State, 570 yards, 9 touchdowns.
Yeah, I wrote that down.
And has a loss.
That's crazy.
At home. It's crazy. Okay, let's see. Well, what do you think about just with this upcoming weekend? What do you think of games or stuff that you're looking forward to then?
This weekend, I'm looking forward to Virginia at Notre Dame. Notre Dame just came off a very tough game in that loss to Georgia. And Virginia is, picked by some to be the ACC Coastal representative this year in the championship. They're a ranked team. I think they're still ranked. I'm not exactly sure they were.
They're ranked, yeah. They're 18, yeah.
But I want to see, is Notre Dame really legit? Their defense impressed me a little bit this past weekend, but I can't tell if that was Georgia being conservative or if it was just that Notre Dame has a great pass defense. I'll be interested to see how they do against Virginia. No,
it's an interesting game because you're right, because UVA it has been the pick to come out of the Coastal and play Clemson in the conference championship game, and then you've got Notre Dame, who made the playoffs, still has the aspirations. They have a letdown, play a great game, but have a letdown, or it was a close game and against Georgia, and now this is an opportunity for them to have a letdown. Can they hold up and hold serve at home and win a game they should win?
Yeah.
But they let Virginia in the game for too long and then just don't make plays. So that'll be very interesting in that dynamic. One for me is I've got Ohio State at Nebraska. You've got Scott Frost trying to rebuild the program at Nebraska, and there's some bits and pieces that are there, but then they're still working on it. Ohio State is 4-0. Haven't really played anybody.
Yeah.
So they've been able to pat their stats a little bit, but this is their first true road test.
Yeah.
And Ohio State recently has had a big road loss in a cross-divisional game that you wouldn't have expected. Purdue last year, Iowa the year before. And so, I mean, it's an 18-point spread. It's a big spread, but it's happened before. So that's the game I really want to see. If Ohio State's for real this year, this is a game you have to win and have to win convincingly. Too.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, I'm also looking for Wazoo at Utah. Two of the better teams in the Pac-12. Not that the Pac-12 has a lot, to go on right now. I think their highest ranked team is 15.
Yeah.
And Utah having just lost this past weekend, Wazoo having just lost this past weekend. Which one of them is going to come out? Utah's favored by 6.5, but we know that Utah's more of a defensive team. Wazoo is obviously an offensive team with maybe not much defense at all, but they're a pretty good offensive team. If you can score 70 points pretty easily on most of those Pac-12 teams, let's see who really comes out in this one.
Most of the time that usually works.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And both with their schedules ahead of them too.
Yeah,
like they're still in control. I've got another Pac-12 just to round it out. I've got USC at Washington. It's the only ranked matchup that I saw.
Yeah.
You had USC with the upset with their third-string quarterback. Can they repeat it? Washington had a letdown this year earlier too.
Yeah.
So they both had a little bit of that letdown, but who's going to rebuild and really kind of cement themselves as a top contender in their respective division.
And what's crazy is they have a common opponent already, and that would be BYU, who Washington thumped this past weekend, and BYU beat USC at USC. So who knows how that game will turn out. I expect Washington to win, but we'll see.
Yeah, I like it. So those are some good ones. I'm looking forward to Clemson at North Carolina. I think a key for the game is wanting to see another complete game on the road, because we had Syracuse a couple weeks ago, which was good, but wanting to see 4 quarters of it together. And we got to see some of that this past weekend when we were playing Charlotte, but you play like 110 players. But that's a big one. It's just wanting to see. And North Carolina traditionally has been a place we haven't really wanted to go. Now they're a lot different team than this year, but that's a big one. On the road, cross-divisional is always
for sure
iffy because it's unknown.
I'm looking forward to Alabama having the first home SEC game of the year, playing Ole Miss. Ole Miss, obviously a down team in the SEC West. They lost embarrassingly this past weekend, and in that last drive, I don't know if you guys got to see it, but they went all the way down the field. Didn't manage their timeouts well in the second half. I don't guess. By the time I turned it on, their clock management was pretty poor. And so they threw what looked like was a touchdown, only for it to get called down at the half-yard line, lined up quickly, and ran like a terrible quarterback sneak where they were stood up immediately at the line to lose the game in kind of humiliating fashion there at home as an SEC team. So they'll be looking for vengeance. I still think that they don't really have much in the tank to go against Alabama. Alabama's favored by 35.5, and I would expect us to cover. But it'll be good to see a home Alabama game against the SEC team.
Yeah, good to get that slate started.
Yeah.
So there we go. All right, so we've got a new little segment we wanted to add since we're starting to get more into the year and teams are starting to kind of feel out more of what their season is. New segment called Seat Heaters. These are coaches or even teams that their seat might be a little heated. You got the little button in your car, it's starting to get a little cooler. You're wanting to keep your seat warm, and so this is not in a good way. But who would you have as their seat might be a little heated?
Yeah, so I think that everybody is talking about these on the radio right now. For me, the seat's obviously going to be hot for some of these guys, and the question is, what does the team do? So I'll say Jim Harbaugh, right? Everybody after this past weekend is like, man, Jim Harbaugh is on his 5th season. I think it's his 5th season at Michigan. And he wins double-digit games a year. So it's like they've got that going for them. They're winning. They're in the national conversation. They're ranked top 10 at least at some point in each of the seasons. but they don't win big games. They lose to Ohio State. They got killed by Michigan by Wisconsin this past week. Michigan State has beat them, I think, more times than they beat Michigan State since he's been there. And it's just like they're not winning big games, yet he's that golden boy Michigan former quarterback. You almost can't fire that guy. Plus, I think he might have a massive buyout.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah. What do they do? What's their?
Yeah, that's reaction. That's what's hard for them. I really think I know that they were trying to change offensive coordinators. Their offense just doesn't seem as dynamic as what it should be for a Big Ten team. And I know he tends to go more in the pro style offense, but I don't know. They just haven't had a quarterback really. This is our guy. It's been a lot of like musical chairs. Shea Patterson's supposed to kind of be that guy. He hasn't really fit in yet.
For sure.
And I know the defense is also younger too. In the years past, their defense has been able to hold up, and they don't have that as much this year. So that's kind of hard.
For whatever it's worth, my opinion is keep him. Right? I think that so often in college football right now, it's just like, oh, you haven't done anything yet, you're fired. But winning 10 games a year,
it's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
I want to say ask Georgia when they got rid of Mark Richt, but I mean, obviously they just replaced him with
that's an exception.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You're like, that's a narrow road that you're actually hitting on.
Exactly.
I mean, even too, I think the question to ask with these two is, the hot thing is to talk about, okay, the coaches are going to get fired. But then it's like, who are you going to replace them
Exactly.
with? That's the thing, is like, with any of these guys, you have to pay a buyout most of the time.
A massive one, usually.
Owing them money to not coach your team, to then lure a guy over to then coach your team, is to build in a new staff and a new system that may not work. I mean, I know Tennessee, that's somebody I have is Jeremy Pruitt, but that's kind of their situation, is like they had to go through some different coaches to try to lure somebody to help adapt to their program. And it's hard once you're in there to like, who you're going to really hire to bring you in. And
with Jeremy Pruitt, he's in his second season. I mean,
it's still early,
what
but
you
hear the chirps, but it's like,
anytime I hear Tennessee fans calling into this SEC radio show I listen to all the time, and a lot of them right now are saying like, well, we never wanted Jeremy Pruitt in the first place. We need to get somebody that we want. And it's like, come on, guys, it's his second season.
Yeah.
What can you expect?
Yeah. I think the thing with the Tennessee is, I feel like they've been trying, or even like a South Carolina, they've been trying to be too much like Alabama. And it's like, don't be Alabama. No, be Tennessee and like make your own thing. And that was the thing with Butch Jones, is did he not like succeed in all these different ways, but at least he was like going at it in like his own way.
Yeah.
That at least had a unique feel to it. So I think Pruitt's on there, but again, they're building something, and he's having to build a lot up.
Yeah,
I'd say you have to put Muschamp on there, just because he's year 4. It's really like it's all his recruits now. You have a tough schedule, and yes, I see the hat that I'm wearing right now. But if it take off the Clemson bias, like if you think about it from a perspective, like they should win 6 games this year, even with the schedule that they have.
Yeah,
they've had some winnable games, and they just haven't shown up in some of them.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing, is you have to show up and start winning some of these games, and have to show that you're making progress. So
with Muschamp, my expectation would be, and this may not be right, I don't know what his buyout is necessarily, but if they don't go to a bowl this year, with the high expectations they had at the beginning of the year, I mean, South Carolina fans were expecting to win 8 games at least. Even though they had a treacherous schedule, they were expecting to win 8 games at least.
Yeah.
And now if they don't go to a bowl, say they win 5 games and they miss a bowl, I'm going to expect that they're going to be calling for Will Muschamp's job. And the thing is, it's been like this at every place he's coached as a head coach until now. With Florida, same thing. He had 4 years there, didn't really get a lot going, could never get the offense. He's a defensive guy, but he could never get a good quarterback or anything, and it kind of ended up being the same way. They weren't, winning more than 6 or 7 games a year, and they wanted to make a change. So I wouldn't be surprised for the same thing to happen here.
Yeah, I think the opportunity is there, but you have to say like it's starting to get a little warm for him. Do you have another one to talk about?
I think Willie Taggart, Florida State.
Yeah.
I think even though it's only year 2, I think for Willie as well.
It is. Yeah.
Same conversation with Jeremy Pruitt. So the question is it heading in any kind of upward trajectory is, the direction looking positive, even though they're having really close games, barely beating teams that they should be crushing. I think they did. Did they win this past weekend?
They did. Yeah. They beat Louisville.
Yeah, that's why I thought.
You should have beaten Louisville.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought I saw the score and I was like, awesome, Florida State's actually winning the game. But yeah, they've got a tough road ahead still. Florida, Clemson. It's gonna be pretty tough still.
The thing with Taggart that's a little bit different for me than Pruitt is, so with both those guys, I think we're finding that the cupboard was more bare than was let on.
Yeah.
With Florida State, even you're just seeing wow, they really have had a lot of stuff that's just not gone their way, and they just need to replenish, and they're having a culture change that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
The hard thing with Taggart is I just don't love the body language.
Yeah.
He just seems a little bit over his head and a little bit okay, I'm just trying to make it every week. And so I think he's still got a leash, but you do want to start seeing some of that progress. Yeah. Who'd you say out of all the people we've listed, who'd you say has their seat is the hottest or warmest?
My opinion is Muschamp. I think Muschamp has the biggest chance of actually being let go. With Harbaugh, even though he's been there a year longer, he's still winning 10 games a year. Mm-hmm. And he's the beloved son of Michigan football. So I think with Pruitt and Taggart only being in year 2, I think Muschamp, in my opinion, has the hottest seat.
That's good. I would say, so for me, I don't think any of these guys will actually get fired this year, because we got 2 guys who are year 2. And these other guys, I would say they probably still have another year. Yeah. But if Harbaugh and Muschamp are having another year like they are this year, you would watch out for it. I might say Harbaugh, for now, is the hottest seat just because the expectations are so high. Yeah. And I think the factor of being second to Ohio State for so long.
Yeah, it's tough for Michigan.
It's tough. I think a lot of things could be overlooked, but not beating Ohio State, even when there's been some opportunities to beat them. I think that's the one. But again, I don't think any of these guys get fired this year.
Yeah,
but
you're probably
I think these are ones to look out for, and those are the ones that we're kind of talking about.
Yeah, and I think that what I would love to see in college football happen is that there wouldn't be these, teams switching coaches so often, and that coaches really would have the opportunity, even if they're not winning 10 games a year, to develop something rather than it's year 3 and they haven't done anything, you're fired. Granted, that's knowing that my coach or our coach at Alabama has been there 13 years now. So it just seems really quick the way that we play the carousel these days.
It is.
Everything moves so fast.
The leash used to be 4 to 5 years, and now it's 2 to 3.
Yeah,
if that.
Exactly.
And so, well, there you go. Those are just some things to look out for. We've got some fun games coming out this weekend, and so thanks for tuning in. Remember to follow and subscribe the video. We got a lot of stuff coming out there this week too. So anyway, thanks for tuning in.
See you guys next week.
See you. Bye.